Saints head to Jerry World tomorrow for a big game on the road versus the Cowboys. We're going to talk about four key matchups for this game, but I think the most important one, most of that matchup's already been decided because we're going to focus on Clint Kubiak versus Mike Zimmer. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. So we're going to start with, and I think this is the most important, is Clint Kubiak scheming and play calling versus Dallas defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer's scheming and play calling. So let's go back and refresh a little bit. In case you didn't remember, Mike Zimmer was the head coach of the Vikings 2014 to 2021. And we well know, um, as the head coach, he was also the de facto defensive coordinator. And when he ran up against Sean Payton, who was one of the better play caller and schemers of offenses, and both the games I'm going to bring up to you, we had a Hall of Fame quarterback leading that offense. 2017 playoff game, Minneapolis Miracle. 2019 playoff game, wild card game in the dome. They came in. Zimmer slowed down both times our offenses and got us in a dogfight in them. Two games we had a chance to win and couldn't quite pull either one of them out. Now, Clint Kubiak used to be an assistant offensive coach for the Mike Zimmer in those days because his father was the OC at that time. And in fact, in 2021, Kubiak Sr. retired. Kubiak Jr. became the OC in Zimmer's last year in Minnesota. So let's say they met and they're kind of familiar with each other. So I think it's a very important part of this whole deal. And most of the work that they've done has already been done because this is Saturday morning. We're talking they're getting walkthroughs done today. They're playing the game tomorrow. So kind of whoever's ahead in this matchup, and then once they start matching wits in the game tomorrow, play calling and having to make adjustments, the winner of this matchup is going to go a long way to being able to determine the winner of this game. There's no doubt in my mind. Um, if our offense can run and overcome Dallas's defense, it's a very similar kind of game plan for both teams. They both being pretty good defenses. Dallas has a good offense, but it can be notoriously inconsistent and have problems. But their defense is normally pretty good, and they expect it to be better with Zimmer as his first year as defensive coordinator. Kind of can flip side can be said about the Saints. So I think this one's key because if Zimmer's able to bog down our offense like he used to be able to do to Sean Payton, granted, different coach, different offense, different everything, but still, Zimmer is good. We're going to be in for a long day. If Kubiak can get the upper hand of this, well, we can hang around for quite a while. And the longer we can hang around on the road in Dallas and hang in there, better chance we've got to walk in there and pull the upset. Now, there was a reason why I gave you guys homework right before my last broadcast 3 days ago, 4 days ago, whenever it was, because that was that one particular play, the long completion to Chris Olave. And in case you don't remember it, let's go ahead and take a look at it. And in a second, we're going to watch it again at half motion. But that was a great play. It was a 10-0 game. We had just gotten a 12-yard run from Taysom Hill for first down. So we're playing 1st and 10, and we come up with a great scheme, a great play call that causes a lot of problems for the defense. And we're going to start this off with, we roll out in what's known as 21 personnel. And probably most of y'all know what I'm talking about when I say that. Some of y'all may not because they'll throw it around a lot. But basically, when they throw the numbers out for personnel on an offense, first number is counting the number of running backs. The second number is counting the number of tight ends. There's no number for the receivers. Just do the math left over, and that's receivers. So 21 is telling you 2 running backs, 1 tight end. So we rolled out in this formation. Well, before we get to the formation, when we go into the huddle, their defensive coordinator and their defense is looking for at Kamara, running back, Prentice at fullback, Moreau's the tight end, Olave and Shaheed. On 1st and 10, you're thinking, especially coming off a 12-yard run from Taysom, most teams are thinking, hey, we're going to play the run and react to the pass. It's liable they're going to come out in some type of power running formation. Very likely they're going to play action if they do throw off of it. So you're going to probably look more of a run look than a straight pass look. Right off the bat, the problem for them is now on this highlight, because if you're watching the game live, Mark Schlereth had to go on and on the replay from Taysom Hill, the play before. So you missed the very beginning of this play, which is Moreau is actually on the right side of the formation because from top to bottom, Shaheed's on the line as the receiver. Prentice is tight slot right off pinning, so basically a tight end. What you're seeing now is Moreau has motioned from that side of the formation to this side, so it's basically mirroring the same thing, where Olave's on the line as a wide receiver, and Moreau is just getting to the point where he's going to be sort of the de facto tight end on this side. But so they went from motion from the right side heavy with basically a wide receiver, two tight ends for all intents and purposes, to now he's on this side of the formation. But because both those, actual tight end and the fullback kind of lined up as a tight end, suddenly we're no longer in a 21 personnel. It's more basically a 12 with one running back, two tight ends. So even if you're Carolina or most defenses, you're probably still thinking, this is still some type of run set. They've got the fullback in. He's not really a threat in the passing game unless they can set him up kind of for an easy pitch and catch. Put a pin in that. We'll come back to it. So this is going to move a little slow because I slowed down to half speed so I'd be able to stop it and we can talk about some stuff. Now, with that motion from Moreau, he just gets set. The defense didn't really react. They have 6 players along the line of scrimmage, one of which is a cornerback on top playing press against Shaheed, 2 linebackers, and then 3 defensive backs in the backfield. Kind of looking like a too high safety look, which could be they're playing zone over the top on the too high, maybe man underneath. Could be a straight zone. There's not, because normally when you send somebody in motion, you're looking for the defense to react to kind of figure out what's going on, what they're doing. Didn't get much of a reaction. And over the last 2 years, if we'd have gotten Pete Carmichael just to do one motion, it would have been a miracle. But what happens next, I promise you, never would have happened. Because now you got Alvin in motion. So now you're in a zero look because now you have 0 running backs. He's coming out of there. You're definitely not running the ball unless you're going to run some type of draw with Derek Carr, which I think 0% chance of that happening. Now the defense is forced to react. And there's a little, I wouldn't say chaos, but if you look on the left side of your screen, there's some communication. Shaq Thompson, the middle linebackers, pointing and talking. They've got to reshuffle a little bit. And it pretty much rolls into that's a single high look. That other defensive back came down with Kamara. Obviously, he's man up on Kamara. The defensive back that's standing right at the first down yellow line. Well, he's now got to deal with Olave. About 10 yards off of him. Good luck, buddy. You're already in the hole. This formation has already taken one of their defenders and put him in a serious bind. And there's just really not a whole lot they can do about it because I don't think assuming, because I can't get numbers, so I don't exactly know who's where on the Carolina defense, but I'm thinking they're kind of getting caught more with a run look on their defense that they just, because the ball's about ready to be snapped. So there's no way that defensive back one, assuming it's the corner, and if it's not the corner, he definitely doesn't want to run it there and try to get press on Olave. So he's just got to kind of sit back best he can and jump in on the coverage on Olave. Now, to make matters worse, at the top of the screen, Shaheed's released. He's got inside leverage on that corner. So that's a single high safety who has to see that and realize I'm probably going to have to help on that side. And I'm making that guess because 2 series earlier in a similar situation, the safety didn't bring help to the corner. Shaheed beat him on the inside, and we got a 59-yard touchdown pass out of it. So I'm thinking that's still in the back of their head. Meanwhile, the other corner is still trying to get in position to cover Olave, and he's been hamstrung on that from the beginning. Josie Jewell, the outside linebacker at the top of the screen, is sitting on Prentice. So he's man up there. Shaq Thompson's going to have Moreau, and the defensive back that just came across is picking up Alvin, who's releasing. Both Olave and Shaheed are show and go routes at this point. There's no breakoffs. You can see that they're doing nothing but going down the field. So they're both looking for some type of deep target. The other reason why I stopped it here, you can see the cursor, the guy that's actually closest to Derek Carr. That is our left tackle, Tali Fuaga. Because the edge rusher is actually being blocked by Foster Moreau. Up top, the reason why Josie Jewell over here on the back is waiting for Prentice, because Prentice right now is chipping the defensive end and doing a beautiful job of it. And right behind him is Trevor Penning waiting to pick him up. We saw this very similar look, that very first touchdown drive against Frisco, when we started backed up on our own 5. If you remember, we got a 7-yard pass to Moreau. Moreau was on the right side helping Penning, but basically the same look, where the tight end was picking up the edge at first, where the tackle was sitting back. And in that case, Moreau released. We dumped a pass off to him on the line of scrimmage, and he rumbled for 7 yards, got us to 2nd and 3. Head of the chains, we rolled, scored a touchdown. I'm thinking somebody saw that on film, because Jewell is just sitting there and waiting for Prentice to come out, which he does right after the chip. Shaq Thomas is sitting there not doing anything, and I'm pretty sure at this point, and we confirm it a little later, he's waiting to see what Moreau does. And Moreau's locked horns with the right edge defender. Now, Moreau's losing his leverage, but it's okay because Fuaga, who was sitting there, and also would help in this if there had been some type of delayed blitz or twist or stunt or any other craziness going on the defensive line that was going to come through that gap and cause a problem on Carr's blind side, Fuaga would have been able to pick that up too. But it never came. Moreau did a great job of slowing down the edge. Now Fuaga's ready to take him. Everybody else is locked up tight and is not going anywhere. And if you notice right now, suddenly we have 2 offensive players sitting right at the line of scrimmage. One's Prentice, one's Kamara. So you know, in reality, could take a quick dump right here. You picking up 3 or 4 yards because the defense is, their defenders, the guys that are covering them, are still sitting way back. But we don't want that. What we're looking for is the opportunity to take the deep shot. And right here, a couple of things. I know it's a little blurry, but it's very hard to stop to get a clear picture. But you have a clear enough picture of what's going on here. Because those short routes, basically with Kamara and Prentice, kind of locking up those linebackers who really weren't going to go anywhere anyway because they were in man. But the one thing they couldn't do was deepen up even more. So now you have space for Carr to throw the ball and 2 very fast receivers to operate, basically one-on-one, anywhere they want to go. And they both have inside position, so it's very easy for them to run a deep cross like Olave is here, or Shaheed to come down the field and suddenly break toward the post on the inside. Now, the one guy you don't see is the safety who was single high, because apparently he's faded back almost all the way into the end zone, realizing I've got a problem with that cross and that go route coming with the possibility of being able to cut to the post. I can't go up and help anybody. Those 2 guys are one-on-one with those 2 fast receivers. Good luck to you cats, but I have to stay back here because if I get sucked up in there, there's a possibility ball gets thrown over the top again on me and I give up another long touchdown and I might be looking for a job come Monday. So he's not even in your picture. So you got a pretty easy 16, 17-yard gain, I believe this was, to Olave on the crosser right over the middle, which basically happens. And if you notice, there's the free safety going, okay, now I know where the ball's going. I can come up and help. We took scheme, motion, 2 separate sets out of what would normally be at 21 personnel. You're not thinking anything like this if you're on the defense. And even if you're thinking it, which we didn't catch them in a total run look, so they were possibility some kind of throw could be coming out of there, but still didn't have them set up where they could really defend anything. At no point in there, truly, maybe Shaheed was defended okay, because the corner was impressed, was running step for step with him, but he was really only defending the outside. I mean, you could have easily had Shaheed cross at the next level behind Olave coming back the other way. Carr had so much time, he could have waited for that break if that would have happened. Still would have hit Shaheed further down the field on a cross, and that safety still would have been gone. I'm screwed. I just have to sit back here and wait and see who catches the ball in case I got to run up and tackle him and stop the long touchdown. It's a brilliant design. It's a brilliant play call coming off that 12-yard run in a 10-0 game because we had really started establishing the run at that point. And we didn't even have to use play action to get this. What I like about this and why I wanted to show this and why I immediately saw it was that interaction down on our left with Moreau and Fuaga, recognizing, man, that was the same thing we saw in a preseason game. That is good scheming. That is good play calling. And I'm seriously hoping what that also proved. Let's talk about the long game. And the long game is one way that Kubiak can get an edge. Now, it's only 1 week. It's going to be a little harder, but can get the edge on some of these defensive coordinators and use this scheme and play calling to hide some of your blemishes on offense. And what I mean by the long game is, and I'm going to go to the GOAT, I think the best guy in the NFL right now doing it is Ben Johnson in Detroit. But you can throw Mike McDaniel in there. You can definitely throw Kyle Shanahan in there. You can definitely throw Sean McVay in there. And there's a couple of other coordinators who are pretty good at it. What I mean by the long game is they're not afraid to show stuff early. Now, if they need it in a game, you may see some play calls coming off the scheme. But if they don't need it, I think they like showing these little unique twists of, hey, how we're going to use our tight end and tackle combos to slow down your pass rush. And then we're going to do some other stuff. But then we're going to have plays coming off of that. So you're going to see it at some point when you're watching film preparing for us. And if we see you react to it when we do it, the guys that have the good long game go, oh man, I've got a couple other plays I can run after that. And if you don't react to it, I can keep doing what I'm doing. And I've got those in my back pocket when I really, really need them. Because this is the second time he showed that. And I was surprised they showed that in the Frisco preseason game. I'm like, why would you want to show that you have a tight end tackle combination able to neutralize an edge and still get out in that particular game in Frisco, like we said earlier, still get out in the route when you're backed up in the hole, pick up 7 key yards on first down. And if you looked at every level, the best that defense could have hoped for is we'd have taken one of the checkdowns, and it's a minimum of 3 yards if the ball's caught, and they'd have both been easy pitch and catches to Kamara Prentice. If they catch it, fall down, and roll over, it's 4 yards. At 4, we're on schedule. 2nd and 6. That's where we want to be minimum. If he rolls over twice, you've got 5. But if he keeps his feet and any of those linebackers are slow to react or miss a tackle, even on Prentice, now you're way ahead of schedule. And if it's Kamara, you've just picked up another first down plus whatever else is coming. Because on the back end, this is what's so key. If you get those short, easy passes and get the yak and can actually turn upfield, make somebody miss or run through a tackle. 2 corners had their backs to the plate and had no idea what was going on behind them. With receivers right there ready to do what the other thing you need to do, give them a block downfield. And the single high safety at that point was probably high-fiving fans in the back of the end zone because he didn't show up in the play till after the ball was caught and Olave was tackled. He effectively were defending 10 because he had no choice. I just got to sit back here and wait and see what happens and clean it up if I have to. Because if I get involved, if he jumps one of even 2 routes out there and he guesses wrong, well, A, he's not helping any more than he was fading all the way back into the end zone. But B, there's a chance the ball comes over his head over the top or on a deep cross all the way to the back end of the field where the corner can't keep up anymore. Either one of those 2 receivers catches the ball. Well, Shaheed showed it earlier. It's 6. You got to show this stuff, and you got to be able to play off of it. You got to use the creativeness of 21 personnel, moving to 12, moving to 0-2. within the span of seconds and throwing a whole bunch of other stuff off. Because when we start talking about the next three in the next segment and key matchups, doing stuff like that is going to be critical for this Saints offense to move the ball and score points. So before we break down my other 3 points, quick look at the final injury report. Because obviously, I think everybody's kind of talking about the same two names that could present a problem. Now, to slow down, um, Demarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons on the edge when Parsons is on the edge, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. You really want Fuaga, especially when you've watched him play last week. He was pretty good in protection. Um, Accounts of grading and stuff like that on film review across the board, PFF, other people that there were people actually breaking it down in videos, going how good the rookie looked on that left side. Granted, against Carolina, that wasn't the edge rushers that they're going to face this week. So, but still, if not, you're going to be looking at Landon Young, whatever happens there. Now, I know DA said yesterday he feels pretty good, whatever that means about Fuaga. So I don't know. I don't know if the Saints are playing games with their injury report. I feel like they may be some in there somewhere, but for the most part, that one's a concern, and without a doubt, Marshon Lattimore is a concern. Lattimore needs to be on the field because that's kind of where we're gonna, and just to make it a little easier for y'all to see that it's the concerns for us is Lattimore not practicing all week, and then Fuaga's back issue, whatever you want to call it, kind of showing back up um, on the injury report. Not what you want to see. Because I think outside of the scheming, play calling, again, like I said, it's going to go a long way to get this offense to run because Dallas, defensively, besides those two edge guys, I think we've got the handle on dealing with the interior of their defensive line because I think they got some good guys, but I don't think as good as the three that we faced last week, and we pretty much handled them easily. So, I mean, that to me is confident dealing with those three. Should be okay with Dallas. Kendricks, Damone Clark, primary linebackers. Kendricks is definitely the guy all the time. Sometimes Clark comes off the field for Demarius Overshawn to handle passing downs. You got Diggs at corner. It's a quality player. You have some good safeties that they can use. There's really three of them, Wilson and Hooker probably being the two biggest. But Bell was a rookie, I believe, last year or an undrafted guy. Kind of came out of nowhere last year, played well, and he's backing up. So they've got some players. It's a lot like the Saints. They have good players at every level. They maybe have some guys you can get to at every level, sort of. So I think overall the Saints' defense is better. However, where I think the Saints' defense can get themselves in trouble is I've been saying this. CeeDee Lamb can be a problem because he is one of those receivers. You can put tight coverage on him. You can put the NFL's current version of a shutdown corner on him. He can still dominate. He can run. He's in that Tyreek Hill kind of category where they get hot and playing well. It's hard to shut them down without help. And the real problem is you start giving help. Brandin Cooks on the other side can make it hurt. Now we're going to catch a little break if Ferguson doesn't play, and he's doubtful because this would be the second week in a row where there's probably no real threat at tight end that can really, really hurt us. Knock on wood, but I don't think so. But Ferguson would be a different story if he's starting at tight end. So I think the key matchup with Dallas is I think we can stop their run. So we have to stop those two guys on the outside. A little tougher if Lattimore can't play, or even if he can play, if he's not at 100%. You're still good with Adebo, but the problem with that is Alontae Taylor looks so good playing that slot corner. You know he can go outside to help if you need him to, but I think you kind of want to try to keep him in the middle as much as possible. playing what he did last week. He just looked unbelievable, and we know there's more in him. We know there's probably more stuff they can do with him in there. Again, last week didn't have to show. After a while, we didn't have to show any of that stuff. We may need it this week. Kool-Aid played on the outside against either one of those two guys. Still a rookie, still adjusting. That would be a tough ask. Behind him, you got Rico Payton. So push came to shove, you had to put somebody else outside if Lattimore can't play. It's probably going to have to be Taylor. Hey, look, that's just a situation you don't want to get into. So I'm hoping Lattimore's fine. But his recent last 2 years of nagging up injuries during the season, this one is concerning me. This could be one of those deal breakers where, as a whole on the defense, I am just not as confident as I would be. So we'll see how that plays out, but that's a big one because if Lamb goes off, we're going to be in trouble. The other one is, now I do like this matchup because I mentioned Kendricks and Damone Clark. Kendricks, very good linebacker, not so great in coverage normally, but he's going to clean up a lot of stuff up the middle. He can cover a little bit, and he occasionally, though, will blitz him and he can cause some problems there. Damone Clark is typically kind of their run guy. Demaris Overshawn, who had a pretty big game, I believe, last week, kind of the third down guy and come in and do some of that. So it's almost like their Willie Gay, Pete Werner thing going on when you look at those two. If you can catch an early downs and get Kendricks or Clark on an Alvin Kamara, on a Juwon Johnson, on hell, even a Foster Moreau, if Hoker plays, looks like he's healthy, he may be able to. But any of those guys work in the middle to the outside where the linebackers, remember the play we just saw where the linebackers have to start trying to jump on those guys. I think you can get some guys open in a mismatch, which will help that pass rush from the edge if we can dump balls quick into those playmakers that can take advantage of guys who aren't as good in coverage. I think we did a little bit of that last week, a lot of times too. And that's not counting the other backs that can come out there and can do some damage. Or if you could scheme something up really nice where you can manage, because this will happen in this type of offense. If you look at other teams doing it, all of a sudden they scheme it up right, and Kendricks is covering Shaheed or Olave or Taysom. Let's not forget about him getting in that mix. That can flip a lot of stuff. And if you can do that often enough, that can slow down those two monster pass rushers they have. So I think that's an important point, and that kind of goes back to what Kubiak and Zimmer are going to do back and forth, trying to get Kubiak involved and forcing those linebackers to have to come up quick and cover. And if we can beat some of them that way. I saw a clip on Twitter, in fact, in that 2017 game, late in the game, Alvin caught that touchdown pass from Breeze, and he beat, at the time, Kendricks was Minnesota's middle linebacker. That's who he beat one-on-one to get open. So the possibilities there, I think that's a big one. I think we've got to figure out a way to make that work. Third one, Saints special teams. Bear it in the story. You better win that one. Aubrey's a great kicker for them. He's probably the best in the league last year, and he came out hot on fire last weekend. You're almost, if it comes down to the kicking game as far as field goals, we're way behind on that one, as well as Groupie kicked last week. We don't want to even get into that deal. But overall, Dallas special teams has been pretty good most years. And that is like the hidden yards thing, I think, in here. Field position. We've got to flip it. We can flip it and back them up and help our defense as much as they can. We have to return it or at least catch it, which I think we did a pretty good job, other than one muff late in the game. We did that last week. So we didn't pin ourselves back, because I definitely don't think you want to do that against Dallas, where you can really unleash those two edge guys. So very important. Hayball is going to have to do his job. Our return guys are going to have to do their job. Our cover guys are definitely going to have to do their job. Groupie can't miss. I'm sorry. If we're going to roll Groupie out there, you cannot miss. I know it's a tough ass 2 weeks in a row not to miss anything, but hey, this is the NFL. You're our kicker. You can't miss. So that's one. I think we won that battle handily last week, and it showed it's going to be a lot tougher this week, but it's an important one. But we can't lose by a mile in this one, like last year seemed to happen against some teams where we just got our tails kicked in on special teams. That happens tomorrow. We're going to get our heads kicked in by the end of the game. The only other thing I would mention, this isn't really a matchup thing, but Saints have to win the turnover battle. Obviously, I think that kind of goes without saying. But in a game like this, it's critical we don't turn it over on the road, and we make them turn it over. And the penalties still an issue after last week. Got to clean that up because we have to stay away from the self-inflicted wounds and backwards plays. There's just no room for that on the road against a team like Dallas. Even if you catch them on a bad day, like we know Dallas has sometimes, where you scratch your head and go, "How in the hell did they lose that game to that team at home?" It happens. Um, if you get one of those Dallas performances, Dak has an off day. He's been known to have those, and those games sometimes appear when he does. You give it right back to him. If you're losing the turnover margin or you're committing some of the dumb, stupid penalties that we did last week that we got away with by virtue of who we were playing and how well he played, it's a different animal tomorrow. Can't do that. So there you have it. Before we kind of jump in, yeah, I'll give you a score and a prediction like I did last week. I was horribly off, but do want to point out at the bottom, running the ticker, the footage video that I got to chop up a little bit just to show that one play about how important Kubiak is this week, and he's got to bring it against Mike Zimmer. That was provided by the YouTube channel, the New Orleans Saints, to give them a shout out. It also gives me the opportunity to ask you guys, look, it's a little time consuming sometimes to do those things, and I was definitely having a time crunch this week. I was trying to get it for the video earlier, um, but couldn't quite pull that off. But I was able to finish it late one last night to get it done. But if you like that kind of stuff, give me a thumbs up. So I'll try to include it more, and hopefully no more storms to interrupt my time frames. But it takes a little more. But I don't mind trying to go find them when I can see them and do stuff like that. If you guys thinks it helps, so bang a thumbs up if you want to see more of that. I'll do my best to provide it. As far as the game tomorrow, this is I just can't lie to y'all. This is my honest opinion. If you were to play that game 10 times tomorrow, I think Dallas wins 9 of them. Fairly. Some of them will be easily. Some probably most of them would be close if we do the things we're supposed to do. But I think overall at home kind of makes them a better team. If we had them at home, I'd feel a little differently. I think it'd be a little more within the realm. We could pull off more victories. So I think it's gonna be a tough travel. However, it only takes one, and talked about it a little bit. Sometimes Dallas just, I call it the Dallas syndrome because they've been doing it for decades. I mean, this goes beyond who the starting quarterback or the coaches, where they just kind of show up and lay an egg. Now, normally it happens in the playoffs. Let's be honest, but they've had some really good teams that at times just play really bad. Um, so if you get one of those, yeah, that's so maybe 8 out of 10 because there's always that version of Dallas that is in danger of showing up at any time. But the second game would be the one where you can hang in there long enough and you can steal the game. And I don't know if we have it in us. I don't think we do. So sorry, Saints fan. In all honesty, I'm gonna call this one. I think it maybe like a 31-24 Dallas type victory. So I don't believe in moral victory, so it's still going to kind of aggravate me. But at the same time, I get it. Um, this front end of our schedule is brutal, and if we can somehow survive it, stay intact, and not have the long injury reports. And I'm tired of talking about injuries because they do it all during preseason and training camp. So I'm not doing it now, other than to say I'm tired of seeing injury reports like that. I really hope that's just the Saints blowing some smoke at Dallas, and it's not as severe. And you'll see a lot of those guys play most of the game and play well. So we'll see how it goes. Um, what I got tomorrow, the last thing announcement tomorrow. I am going. You'll see it a little later. Schedule the post game at 9:30. So as long as the power, internet, and everything keeps working around here, and I have no reason to believe it's not, but we did just have a storm hit, so sometimes it can get shaky. If everything goes well, I'll be on at 9:30. I don't know if Jason's going to be available yet. I know he just got power back late last night. We'll see how it goes, but I'm pretty sure if he's able to make it, he'll be there. If not, it'll be me and you guys. We'll have fun regardless. Either way, hopefully, we'll have a lot more fun if we're talking about a Saints upset win on the road in Dallas, which would be massively huge. And even though I'm predicting Dallas to win, I'm going to be pulling hard for our Whodats tomorrow. So, should be seeing you tomorrow night about 9:30 Central. Till then, I'm Tim. Peace out. Whodat.